Hey guys, it's Opie Love. Welcome back to my channel. And today's video is going to be about LPN, ADN, RN. What the hell is the difference? So a lot of people who are trying to go to nursing school, they're like, there's an LPN program, an ADN program, and a BSN program. Who is what? And please tell me what's the difference. Let's start off with the shortest program you can do, the LPN program. LPN stands for Licensed Practical Nurse. An LPN program is usually 12 months to 18 months. So a year to just a little bit over a year. So a lot of technical schools and community colleges have LPN programs. But let me just say it right here. An LPN is still a real nurse. LPN stands for Licensed Practical what? Nurse. Good job. So let me tell you guys about LPNs from what I've seen. LPN program is good for people who just want to become a nurse as soon as possible. So a lot of community colleges and also technical schools and trade schools offer LPN programs. So you might be thinking, what's the difference between an LPN and an RN? So an LPN is a licensed practical nurse. There's a few slight skills that an LPN cannot do that an RN could do. Skills like blood transfusions. If you work in a hospital as an LPN, you wouldn't be able to do a blood transfusion. You can't do an initial assessment of a patient by yourself. You would have to do it with the RN or give IV push medications. So if a patient needs meds through an IV, an LPN wouldn't be able to do that either. And it has some other things like complex wound debridement. Some LPNs can't do that according to state regulations. And then there's some education pieces like discharge teaching and also education of a patient. No IV push medications, and that also goes for a central line. If you need to give or take blood from a central line as well, that's restricted with LPNs. And then also the discharge teaching. Certain education is restricted. LPNs can't do that also. Now let me tell you about my personal experience with LPNs. I started off my nursing career as a CNA in a long-term care facility. In my long-term care facility, LPNs run the show. So our managers and our management that we report to are all LPNs. If you're in a facility like a home health care or a nursing home, no one's gonna have an IV. No one's gonna have a central line. Nobody's going to need discharge teaching in a nursing home. You know what I'm saying? Because they live there. So all the restrictions that are on LPNs really apply mostly in the hospital. But as far as nursing homes and long-term care facilities, nursing homes, LPNs really run the show from what I've seen. Now, back in the day, because of these restrictions that are on LPN, certain hospitals wouldn't hire LPNs because of their certain restrictions, and a lot of the tasks that were restricted that LPNs couldn't do, they needed to be done all the time in the hospital, so a lot of hospitals wouldn't hire LPNs. But honestly, now times have changed. I know so many LPNs who have been charge nurses on units in the hospital in specialties like ICU, emergency department, neuro, med surge, labor and delivery, mother baby, NICU. They're LPNs and they're working in the hospital and they have thriving careers. But as far as where an LPN would have the most autonomy, the most reign, the most say-so, and get the big bucks, the most pay, would be a nursing home or a long-term care facility. LPNs really run the show when it comes to long-term care. Seriously. I've seen them in management positions. I've seen them as the charge nurse of the whole unit. I've seen them manage all the other CNAs, all the med techs. They really have a lot of autonomy and they get the most pay in long-term care facilities. Let's move on to ADN. ADN stands for Associate's Degree in Nursing. An ADN is a 2-year nursing degree. So it's a little bit longer than your LPN. So next, let's really focus on comparing the difference between ADN RN and BSN RN. Because both of these people with both of these degrees are registered nurses, but what exactly makes them different? So an ADN is an associate's degree in nursing. It takes you 2 years to get your associate's degree in nursing, so that's a little bit longer than your LPN schooling. A BSN is a bachelor's in the science of nursing. That is a 4-year program. Honestly, depending on how you do your classes, it can be 5 years to complete your bachelor's in the science of nursing. But let's really get into the nitty gritty and let's really talk about why these are different and what is the difference in schooling that you're going to have to do to get your ADN versus your BSN. And why do employers see these nurses as just different types of nurses? ADN and BSN, you take the same exact NCLEX to become a registered nurse, but for a BSN, you have a few more classes to take that people believe better equip you for leadership in management positions in the hospital. So your opportunities to leave the bedside are higher when you have a BSN compared to having an ADN. It's not impossible to leave bedside with an ADN and do management and advance yourself and have these positions away from the bedside, but employers see your extra schooling as you being better equipped to do these things. The specific classes that are found in a BSN degree track that are not in the ADN degree track are nursing research and evidence-based practice, community and public health nursing, leadership and management in nursing, health policy ethics and healthcare systems, nursing informatics, statistics, cultural competency or global health, and lastly, capstone project or senior practicum. So the senior practicum hours, where one-on-one with the nurse, are different with your bachelor's in the science of nursing compared to your ADN. So with a BSN nurse completing all those classes that I just listed to you, people view nurses with a BSN as having more critical thinking skills learned from the classroom, more leadership, more research, being able to do things in a management role, such as critical think, research, evidence-based practice, things like that, because of the extra classes that they took. Lastly, there's something called a magnet hospitals. I live in Atlanta, so the closest magnet hospital to me would be Emory University hospitals. So magnet hospitals are hospitals that only hire nurses with a bachelor's in the science of nursing. The caveat to this is they do hire RNs who have an ADN. It's just that they make you sign a contract saying that within the next 5 years, you'll do an ADN to BSN bridge, or you'll get your BSN within the next 5 years, and your employment with them is contingent on the fact that you are going to continue schooling. I have seen some magnet hospitals have that type of leeway. I'm not saying every magnet hospital in the world will hire you with an ADN. Some are very strict and already want you to have your BSN, and some will say, hey, you can start with us, but within X amount of years, we would like you to have your BSN. The reason why there are so many magnet hospitals spread throughout the country is that a lot of research does say that nurses who have a bachelor's in the science of nursing have better patient outcomes because they're more knowledgeable. My personal opinion on that is LPN, ADN, BSN, we're all nurses. I have lots of content on my other social media platforms, and I say all the time, if you can start out as an LPN and get employed at a hospital system that does tuition reimbursement, something or a contract you can sign that says we'll give you free schooling if you work for us for this amount of time, I always say get the cheapest schooling you can and work your way up for free. There are hospitals that will pay for it, LPN to RN bridge. There are hospitals that will pay for ADN to BSN bridge. I'm somebody who went to school directly for my BSN only because I was not knowledgeable. When I first started college at 18, I didn't know what an LPN was, and I didn't know what an ADN was. I feel like in my household, university was a gold standard. A 4-year degree, a bachelor's was a gold standard. So I never even really researched LPN or ADN. I'm not one of those people who feel like because I took a few more classes than you, I'm better than you, or I'm automatically going to have a better patient outcome just off the strength that I spent a few more months in school than you did, because as we all know, nursing is all about experience. You learn in the classroom, but what you really learn is in that hospital, in that facility, on the field. That's where you really learn. So look at your options. Look at the pricings for each of these different programs near you. But I always say a nurse is a nurse is a nurse, and we all deserve the same respect. I hope this video was helpful and informative. Check out my TikTok, check out my Instagram. I post more content like this all the time, but I'm trying to get in my YouTube bag. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye, guys. I think I did a good job.